Following their 13-6 win in New York against the Jets, the Panthers are ready to come back home and face probably their biggest test yet in the Buffalo Bills. One of these two teams will come out of this game with their 5th win on the season. The Bills are 4-2, coming off a bye week. Before that, they lost 2 primetime games in a row after starting the season 4-0. One of those losses came against the New England Patriots, who, as the season has gone on, looks more and more like a not so bad of a loss for Carolina, as Drake May is playing at a presumed MVP level right now. But the other loss comes against the Atlanta Falcons. So if you want to do NFL math, the Panthers can beat the Bills, and they will beat the Bills. Now, one stat being thrown around the league right now is Sean McDermott, the Bills head coach, in his career is 8-0 on weeks following the bye week. But this year's Carolina Panthers squad has proven to be one that can break norms. They're creating their own culture right now, breaking habits that they've had for the past few years. So let's get into some storylines in this game. And the first one really sets me up for the biggest part of this game. The first storyline is the question on if Bryce Young is going to play this game. Now, he's dealing with a high ankle sprain. Earlier in the week, it was said by the media that Bryce was expected to miss this week and was already out. Dave Canales says, on the contrary, he is day-to-day. We will see when we get to Friday, when we get to Saturday, when we get into Bank of America Stadium ready to play. Now, of course, if you're Carolina, you're way more confident in winning this football game if Bryce Young is your quarterback. He's had great momentum during this 3-game winning streak, and this offense moves a lot better from what we've seen when Bryce Young is on the field. It was evident in the Jets game that the Panthers offense, in terms of play calling, was a lot more aggressive than when Andy Dalton had to come in the third quarter and then the rest of the game. Bryce also seemingly has this ability to really show up against teams of this caliber, and the Bills are, of course, a playoff caliber team. Now, if Andy Dalton is at quarterback, he will be 38 just a few days after this game is played, and he didn't have that well of a showing in the offseason. A lot of fans are very cautious on if Andy can do enough in this game. I don't think we need to see Andy Dalton at this point in his career anything more than a game manager. He should not have to throw this ball more than 20-25 times unless the Panthers get behind big. And that is point number one, is the Panthers cannot get behind in this game. They got to keep this game within 1 score if they want to have a chance late in this game. And I say this because the Bills' passing defense gives up the second least passing yards per game this season, just under 170 passing yards per game given up this season. Now, we've seen this Panthers offense be able to battle under pressure, and the Bills around middle of the road, around 15th in pressure rate, around 35%, I believe. And they rank tied 14th with 15 total sacks on the season. But again, it's so important for the Panthers not to get behind in this game, because you can't allow guys like Joey Bosa, Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau to just tee off against this Panthers offensive line, which, everything considered, is banged up. We should have Damian Lewis back in this game, but you can't allow these guys just to tee off against your offensive line and rush against a quarterback who at this point in his career is not mobile. That being said, let's all hope that we can get the Bryce Young-Josh Allen matchup in this game, and let's hope that Bryce is healthy enough to play this game, get through this game, and be back at 100% ready for Green Bay. Moving on to what I think is the most important part of this game. If the Panthers want to win this game, they have to dominate in the run game. This goes for both offense and defense. It is so important to this Panthers offense to have a good running game if they want to win games. In their wins this season, they average 172.5 rush yards per game, I believe. And in losses, that number falls below 100 rushing yards. I believe it is 97 if I did my math correct. And when you see this type of production in wins, it really shows in the stats, both on the tape and the stats. Right now, the Panthers, according to NFL Pro Stats, have the #1 rushing success rate in the league, near 50%. Now, the Bills do rate second in this, just below the Panthers at around 48.5%. So the Bills do not have a running game to scoff at. at all. James Cook and Josh Allen are going to be absolute threats. We know that James Cook can make any play and Josh Allen can make any play on the ground. And that's why it's so important for this Panthers rush defense to show up like they have for the past 3 games of this season. In wins this season, the Panthers rush defense has been so important. In their wins, they give up just under 66 rushing yards per game. Now, in the Panthers' losses, that number jumps up to just under 130 rushing yards giving up in those games. Now, the way the Panthers have been able to win these games is completely shutting down the opposing offense's ability to control the game by running the clock on the ground. If you're going to beat the Panthers, you're going to have to do it through the air as of right now. Now, moving over to the Bills' defense, rush defense has been a problem for them. Not quite in the same range of how bad it's been for Miami and the Dallas Cowboys, but still very close to that level of rush defense. The Bills right now are giving up the second most rushing yards per game, just under 160 a game, I believe. So this should be an obvious problem that the Panthers should be able to exploit, especially with having Damian Lewis back in the lineup and having their full group of guys ready to go up front. But the most important thing about this game, I know I've said that we need to ride the hot hand at this point, but that does not mean forget about Chuba Hubbard. Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard have to work together. Rico Dowdle should probably get 65 to 75% of the carries, but you need to use Chuba Hubbard as a change of pace back. These guys need to have a big workload in this game if the Panthers want to be able to control the clock, keep Josh Allen off the field, keep this game close, and have the Panthers in a position to win this game close late. I want to leave the other most important part of this game for last, to move on to what I think is going to be an important thing, because I will be in attendance in this game with my season ticket that I have for the Panthers this season, and that is this home environment needs to be loud. It needs to be ready to go. There's going to be a lot of Bills fans there. The Bills Mafia travels very well around the country. But there's a reason why the Panthers are on this winning streak right now, and that's because they've won 2 at home. This home environment, especially late in games where the Panthers are in these close games, has been raucous. It's been wild. I know this because I've been there in person to see every single down. And this is so important because the Bills just went and lost in a raucous environment. Say what you will about Atlanta, but when it's prime time in Atlanta, Georgia, that stadium is dangerous. The home environment is so important because it's allowed this Carolina Panthers team to feed off the energy. It's allowed them to cause chaos, a lot of chaos, especially late against Miami. You had the Pat Jones sack late in that game that shut it down. You had big touchdown drives caused by just an amount of chaos that this crowd can cause when they are getting really into the game. And what you've seen through the media and a lot online as well is that the Panthers as a fan base are starting to really get behind their team again. It's not a bunch of what ifs. It's not a bunch of pointing fingers and giving excuses. It's people that want to see this team succeed right now. So if the Panthers can keep this game close, especially going into the late third quarter, early fourth quarter, this crowd can wake up. It can cause chaos. It can make communication hard. And it can lead the Panthers into a win. And the last thing that I think is not as important as the run game is going to be if the Panthers want to win this game, but it showed when they went against Dak Prescott. The Panthers are, of course, susceptible to elite quarterbacks. And who is more elite than Josh Allen? I mean, he's Josh Allen. It's hard to affect Josh Allen as it is. And it's going to make it even harder with the position that this Panthers pass rush is at this point. Right now, the Bills' offensive line is giving up the 3rd lowest pressure rates in the league. And Josh Allen is already so mobile as it is. It's almost impossible to bring him down. The play is never truly over, even if you have him in your arms. So of course it's going to be hard for the Panthers to really affect Josh Allen. Now, one thing that the Panthers can bring into this game is momentum. They're coming off of a season high in pressures and sacks. Granted, that was against the New York Jets, but that's still momentum that they can ride into this game. Now, it needs to be a combination of momentum from their past game and a big game from the secondary. If the Panthers are going to win this game, the Bills cannot be able to just continuously pick on Mike Jackson. It showed against Dallas. It showed against Miami, even though in Miami he was shaken up later in that game. But Mike Jackson has to come out and have one of his better games as a Panther. Now, it will be easier for him to do that in this game because the caliber of receiver is not to the par of a Jalen Waddle or a George Pickens or a Jake Ferguson like it was against Miami and Dallas. This passing attack is really a by-committee group right now. It's led by Dalton Kincaid, who is questionable for this game, I believe, or at least earlier as I'm recording this, he is still having a limited or did not practice designation. Guys like Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakir. Josh Palmer might miss this game. I believe he had to do not practice designation here on Wednesday. And Keon Coleman, who they wanted to be their #1 guy. He was the pick right after Xavier Legette when the Panthers traded up to draft him. So it's going to be really important just to not get beat bad by these guys who I don't think are to the caliber of the guys that the Panthers have played previously in this season. And when it comes to playing that well, it goes back to Josh Allen. He is averaging just under 1 turnover per game this season. And if the Panthers want to win this game, especially if Andy Dalton's playing, this defense has got to force some turnovers, force some punts, force a good amount of negative plays. But then again, one thing we have to remember, this is Josh Allen. This is former MVP Josh Allen. Any routine, any pattern can change just like that in a game because he is that caliber of player. Now, before I get into a prediction part of this video, I want to go ahead and say that we need to welcome back some former Panthers in this game. I'm going to give a shout out to Shaq Thompson, who has been starting at linebacker for the Bills this season. Of course, longtime Panther, longtime leader and captain of this Panthers defense. You know, great guy, great character guy. Love to see him, and I hope he gets a warm welcome from this crowd. I know he'll get a warm welcome from me on Sunday. And the next guy, a guy that may or may not play in this game, that is Curtis Samuel. Panthers fans from, you know, around, 2017, 2018, through the Matt Rule era, the mid part of the Matt Rule era, remember Curtis Samuel as a guy that's very dynamic. Never had a problem with him. Wish he could have stayed around with DJ Moore to make that Panthers offense more dynamic. But another guy that I really like, and I will give him a warm welcome. I hope the crowd gives him a warm welcome if he is out on the field. But let's get to the predictions. If the Panthers have Bryce Young or do not force Andy Dalton to win this game for them, if they can dominate on the ground by putting up 150, 175, almost 200 rushing yards up on the board again, and they can bring the Bills down to the same levels they brought Devon Achane, Javonte Williams, and Breece Hall. If they can have a raucous home environment that really affects this game and causes a lot of chaos, and if they can weather the mean storm that is Josh Allen, the Panthers can pull out this game and they can win. And if the Panthers are going to win, I feel like they're just going to have to drag the Bills down slightly. So I give a score prediction of 23-20 if the Panthers were to win. Now, if the Panthers trot out Bryce Young when he's not 100% and stay conservative with him, or if the Panthers try to force Andy Dalton to be a hero in this game, if the Panthers cannot get this duo of Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle running and allow Josh Allen and James Cook to outrush them and get gashed on the ground, if the home environment is taken away by the amount of Bills fans and Carolina fans not staying loud late in this game, and if Josh Allen can just completely overwhelm this Panthers team, they will probably lose this game. If this game ends in a loss, I believe it'll come from the Bills just willpowering their way through the game with a score like 13-31 or 13-38 in this game. So I've given you the main things that the Panthers need to do in order to win this game. Let me know in the comments what you think the score will be in this game, and who you think will have the biggest performance in this game. I want to thank you for watching. Again, this is a thing that I've wanted to do for a long time. Talk about the Panthers. Love this team and where they're at right now. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Have a good one. Keep pounding.